My Line? Brought to you by New Denture Cream, the special denture toothpaste made with the cleaning power denture wearers need. Denture Cream. And now let's all play What's My Line? And now, from New York, let's meet our What's My Line panel. First, the delightful star of stage and television, Miss Arlene Francis.
Thank you. And now a gentleman who is starring at the present time in a picture with Shirley Jones. The picture is called Fluffy. Fluffy is a lion. We have the lamb with us tonight, Tony Randall.
And you're a dear. And now, just back from Ireland, where she was to attend a ball, a charity ball given by Princess Grace, Dorothy Kilgallen.
And on my left, a veritable prince of publishers, Random House's Bennett, Cerf.
Well, included in our distinguished live audience tonight is the governor of Wisconsin, Governor Warren Knowles. That's the state where they make the big cheeses. And speaking of big cheeses, well, you may think I was going to introduce John Daly, but he's not, has a new name. He's just been inducted by the Blackfeet Indians into their tribe, and they've named him Sitting Calf, not Sitting Bull, Sitting Calf Daly.
You even frightened me a bit there. I would tell all of you, and Tony, this would include you because they were watching recently and knew that you'd been with us. All of the Blackfeet are regular followers of What's My Line. Earl Oldperson, who is the chairman of the Tribal Council, and all of the council were there together. They had the North American Indian Days in Browning. We flew into Cutbank and then went over to Browning and had this ceremony, and they're just as devoted to What's My Line as they could be, so that they're our friends, and all of you are chiefs, even if you haven't got your headdresses yet.
Why did they name you Sitting Calf, John?
Sitting Calf is a mighty warrior of Blackfeet history. And Bennett, relating that Sitting Bull, if they had tried to name me Sitting Bull as a Blackfeet, I sue. And on that happy note, let me advise you we've got some wonderful occupations for you tonight. We'll also have a famous mystery guest before the panel a little bit later in the program, and we'll meet our first challenger after this word. And now to meet our first challenger. Will you enter and sign in, please? Rosalind Page. Right, ma'am?
Miss or Mrs. Page?
Mrs.
Mrs. Page, and where are you from?
Monticello, New York.
Oh, that's nice. That's in upper New York State.
Upstate, yes.
Fine. Well, it's nice to have you with us. Mrs. Page, may I present the panel? Now, would you join me over here, please? And we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. Panel, we can tell you that Mrs. Page is salaried and deals in a service. And we'll begin the general questioning with Tony Randall.
Salaried service. Monticello, New York means to me the heart of that area of the Catskills where the adult resorts are. Have you anything to do with that?
In a way, yes.
In a very general way. I mean, you're asking if she has anything to do at all with recreation? Is that
No, with that resort industry that centers around Monticello, New York.
But do you mean specifically, Tony, having something to do with a resort hotel?
No,
or
with that industry of resorts.
Well, all right, in a general way. Mm-hmm.
I take it you're not connected with any one hotel.
No.
You perform a service for many hotels?
No.
1 down and 9 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Well, Mrs. Page, I am also fairly familiar with that area, and I know that there's a lovely racetrack up there. Do you have anything to do with racing?
Yes.
Do you do something other than drive the horses yourself?
Yes.
Is it something that has to do with the mathematics of the payola, as we say, or payoff of the betting, which is legal?
No, not the payoff, no.
Oh, all right.
That makes it 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Page, trotting races, aren't they, that they have
Yes.
up
Yeah.
there? Do you handle money in the course of your negotiations?
Yes, I do.
Do you sell tickets at the window?
Yes.
Well, you're a ticket seller.
Yes.
At a racetrack.
At a
That's
racetrack.
right. Takes bets at the racetrack. We'll flip all of that. Actually, we took a gamble there. Mrs. Page was rather fearful that somebody would recognize Monticello as having to do with Monticello Raceway, which is where Mrs. Page is employed. But we thought we might hang you up on resort hotels. But Tony opened the box so wide we never had a chance to do it. However, that's the breaks of the game, Mrs. Page. I think that... You want to explain the twin double to me? I'm still confused.
Well, actually, the women at the track only sell the twin double, not any other race. And it is 4 winners in order to collect a large sum of money. It is the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th winners.
Do women pay off if you
No,
win?
we don't pay.
Oh,
We
you
only
sell the
take in
tickets.
the money.
The men pay off.
The
You
men
have to
pay
guess
off.
4 winning horses?
4 winning
Yeah.
horses. You have to bet 2 at a time. In other words, you bet the 5th and 6th race. And if those 2 horses come in to win, you take it to another window where you exchange that ticket for the 7th and 8th race.
And if you win
Many of those winners?
No, not many, no.
I shouldn't think there'd be
But
very many.
It can be very large. Actually, if you win the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, usually the euphoria is such, you go out, put a harness on, and run the next race yourself, pulling the sulky. Thank you very much, Mr. Page. Nice to have you with us. All right, let's see what we can do with our second challenger. Would you enter and sign in, please? Mary, Jane, Polglaze, right?
Is it Miss or Mrs.? Mrs. Polglaze, and where are you from, ma'am?
Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania.
Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Nice to have you with us. Mrs. Polglaze, may I present the panel? And now would you join me over here, and we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is. All right. Panel, we can tell you that Mrs. Polglaze is salaried and deals in a product, and we will begin the general questioning with Bennett Cerf.
Well, Mrs. Polglaze, just as Monticello is known for trotting races, Wilkes-Barre is known for coal. Can I eliminate coal from this whole discussion?
Yes.
Well, that leaves what you remind me of as you walked out. Something to do with the entertainment industry. Have you got anything to do with show business?
No.
That's 1 down and 9 to go, Miss Francis.
John, did I understand you to say that Miss Polglaze, there is a product involved?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it a product that any of us on the panel might use, Miss Polglaze?
Oh, yes.
Is it used by women as well as men?
Yes.
Is it a product that's found in the house?
Yes.
Would it be found in any particular part of the house? By that, if there were 2 floors, would it usually be on the first floor?
If Mrs. Polglaze is willing, I would say here this would pretty much depend on the adjustments within the household. What we're
Where the house is
suggesting
set up?
here. Yeah, it would depend on where you tended to put things that you might, frequently use in the house. Would that be fair, would you say?
Yes. Is it something that if you had it, it would show? You would have it out?
You could.
You mean on display in that
Not
sense?
necessarily on display, but would it be in a place that would be where it would show rather than hidden in a closet or a drawer?
Well, I would think we could say there that it could as well be out as not be.
Does it have any moving parts?
No moving parts. 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Randall.
Is this a manufactured product, Mrs. Polglaze?
Yes.
Is any constituent of its manufacture at any time alive?
You mean in the sense of animal life?
Animal, vegetable?
Well, we would have to agree that constituent parts of it were at some time alive in the sense of growing, being living, etc., etc.
Are people better off for using your product?
Yes.
Would you describe it as a useful rather than a decorative product?
Yes.
Does it come in contact with those who use it?
Yes.
In its use, is it used up?
It would arrive at a day when we would agree that very probably it would be used up, would you say? Its usefulness would disappear after a while.
Is it used for health or cleanliness?
Specifically for health or cleanliness, I think we would have to say no. That makes it 3 down and 7 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Mrs. Polglaze, is it used because with it you can do something that you can't do without it?
Specifically something that you can, I cannot think of anything, but I would leave it to Mrs. Polglaze. I can't think of anything that one can do with it that could not be done by the use of substitute materials. Can you?
Oh, I didn't say substitute, John.
There it goes.
John, you...
Aha,
John.
ja, das verschlossen sich die Verforten.
John.
Ja.
John, that wasn't the question. I didn't say substitute things. We weren't discussing air substitute.
No, but you said
if you had one of these things, would it enable you to do something you could not otherwise do?
Well, but you mean not otherwise do, no matter if everything was available to you to make something new? Well, anyway, you're in on a ticket because we'll agree there is one area where very probably without this particular product you could not perform the service or that you wish to perform. On that basis, you get a qualified yes.
All right. Would you like to guess, John, I won't ask our visitor, whether I would ever have any use for this particular thing?
Yes.
Yes.
I would. Would this ever be used because you had a child or children?
Could.
You know, the children, you know, they do create an awful lot of interesting little problems. Yeah, I think you could.
Can you put anything into this?
Can you put anything into it?
Yes.
No, we can't put anything into it. That's 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Polglaze, you say this product does come into contact with the human body.
Yes.
Would it come into contact with a specific area of the human body? For instance,
yes,
the back?
I think so.
The back, that's very good.
Well,
That's
I
5
just-
down and 5 to go. Thank you very much, Bennett, sir.
I was giving you an example of
Well,
a
I think
part
it
of
was
the body.
a splendid example, and once you clarified it,
I wonder if we'd be any better off with the front. Is it anything that you might put in your mouth?
sometimes.
But I mean, if I had it, and I hope I do, is it something that at some time I might put in my mouth?
I believe that Mrs. Polglaze will join with me in saying that insofar as it's possible for us to determine from the aspect of you which we see from here, it is highly unlikely that you would have the need that we have in mind to put it in your mouth.
I'd like to think that's a compliment, even while you're giving me a no.
But remember, it was asked specifically about you, so I give you a no. 6 down and 4 to go, Mr. Randall.
Oh.
I think you've given me a hint, and you've never done that before. And since you've never done it before, I'm sure the hint is wrong. Is this in the general area of a dentifrice?
No.
I knew it was wrong.
You think I don't use...
7 down and 3 to go. This Kilgallen.
Well, is this something that people who have a need for this particular object put in their mouth?
people who have the need for this particular product, which would have a definite application to an area somewhere around their mouth, would certainly, definitely have a need for it.
Would such a person hold this object in his hand or her hand?
Could they?
Would they, before putting it in the area of the mouth?
Yeah, it would be kind of necessary. Most people
You pick
not
it up
being...
first, is that the
yeah, they'd
idea?
have...
May I assume it is not a lipstick brush?
Yes, you may.
You put something into it, didn't you say?
No,
No, you don't put anything into it. Is it small enough that I could hold it in my hand easily?
Small enough to hold in your mouth.
All right. It's not a pencil, is it?
No.
Is it something that you... It is for adults as well as children, is it not?
Yes.
Is it something that a dentist would ever use?
Yes.
Would it be considered a tool of dentistry?
Not a tool, no. That's 8 down and 2 to go. I'm going to give you one more minute.
Mrs. Polkart, would this be in any way related, even distantly, to false teeth?
No.
9 down and 1 to go. Arlene Francis.
Now, you said a minute ago, John, when you were back here before, that it is something I would not be liable to have in my mouth. I believe you did say that.
Right.
Is it because I'm too young? No. Is it because it would be better in Tony's mouth than my mouth?
No, that's 10 down. No more to go. No, actually, what I was getting at was orthodontia then. Because Mrs. Polglaze makes rubber bands, and they are used in orthodontia.
They go on braces.
And Mrs. Polglaze makes between 5 million and 10 million rubber bands a day at the Eberhard Faber Company
Pretty
Incorporated.
snappy
How
job.
do we get into dentistry? I don't know.
Orthodontists, Bennett, use rubber bands as restrainers. When they're straightening the
that's
tooth
true.
line, they finally get to position A, and then you get a set of rubber bands, and you put them in your mouth to hold the teeth in place
Very good.
until they begin to grow.
Kids have them on their braces.
Oh yeah, it's a very
thought they can
useful
take them off, so we have to put them
pertinence
under
to
the
orthodontia. And I didn't mean to get you all up,
Oh, marvelous.
down in the mouth or anything like that. Well, here we are. Mrs. Polglaze, we stuck them. Thanks very much. Nice to have you with us on What's Smiling. And we'll meet tonight's mystery guest in just a moment. And now the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery challenger, for which, as you all know, the panel is blindfolded. Blindfolds in place, panel?
Yes, sir.
Good. Will you enter mystery challenger and sign in, please? All right. All right. As you know, panel, a different form of questioning, one question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise, and we will begin with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Are you in show business?
Nope.
1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Are you famous for some branch of sports activity?
One time.
Miss Francis?
What was that?
One
one
time.
time.
At one time, I guess you mean.
Was it at one time baseball?
Nope.
2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Randall.
Did you recently celebrate a birthday?
Yep.
I've been out of the country. I passed to Bennett.
Well, would you be Jack Dempsey?
Would you be? Well, Jack, I'm sorry that went so quickly, but they got
The
the sport.
fastest count Jack ever got.
It's the fastest count, Jack. Well, and I guess everybody knows that this wonderful man celebrated his 70th birthday recently. And this past week went down to appear before the Congress, which is looking into what needs to be done to restore boxing to the greatness of his day. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but you have made it public that you feel that some federal control in the field is necessary.
I certainly do, John. This is long overdue. And if something isn't done, I'm afraid boxing will really pass out of the picture.
Well, I hope that never happens, but more, I hope we can restore it to the luster of the days when Jack Dempsey was champion. Let me tell you one story about Jack.
John, I'd like to ask Jack one question which he probably won't answer. What is your opinion of that recent so-called fight between Cassius Clay and Sonny Liston?
Well, I didn't exactly see the fight. I saw it on TV afterwards, but let's don't dignify it. It wasn't a fight.
Not even by talking.
Let's don't dignify it.
Well, Jack, let me tell you one wonderful story about Jack. I think most of you might have heard it, but some of you may have not, that during the last election, Gene Tunney's son was running for Congress down in California, in the lower southern part of California. And guess who was down there campaigning for Gene Tunney's son running for Congress? Mr. Jack Dempsey. And the best part about it is that Mr. Tunney won and is now a member of the Congress of the United States and vitally interested in the activity of the committee looking into the boxing world.
He's a wonderful boy. Gene has 3 sons, and each one is nicer than the other. They're all wonderful fellows.
And well,
great boys.
It's great that you and Gene should be such good friends in these.
Well,
days,
John,
sir.
we've always been good friends. Of course, we boxed and all that, but that had nothing to do with our friendship. Even before we boxed, we were friends, I'd say, for 40 years. Since the time I fought Caponce, that was 1921, we've been friends all these years.
Well, and I know great and good friends. Well, it's a little bit late to wish you a happy birthday, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Thank you very much, John.
And may I say that nobody I've ever known has worn his years with your grace, and you do honor not only to boxing and to your friends, but to your country, Jack, and we are all very proud of you. And
Thank
thanks
you, John.
very much for sharing a Sunday night with us. It was very good of you. Jack, on his birthday, got a congratulatory telegram from none other than President Johnson, which I'm sure he's proud of. Panel, you've done rather well so far tonight. One slip up, and, well, we'll all be back after this word. And now, Bennett, because I'm a braggart, and I'm not going to let this opportunity go by, I was a fisherman this week, and on my first try, I went up to a place called St. Mary's Lodge on St. Mary's Lake, up the other side of Browning. It's up near the Canadian border. And first time out, I caught a 3-pound rainbow and a 2.5-pound rainbow, and on that, I rest my oars.
Wonderful.
Isn't that wonderful? Tony, thanks very much for being with us again, and may I say good night, Miss Arlene Francis.
Good night, Fisherman, Chief. Good night, Tony. I look forward to seeing Fluffy. Is it ever coming to New York?
Eventually. Thank you. I understand that Mrs. Daly has a lover.
Yes, and I'm in.
That's her new play.
Thank you.
Good luck. Good night, Dorothy.
Good night, Tony. Good night, Bennett.
I think good old Chief Sitting Care, full bull. Good night, Chief Sitting Care.
Well, it's two weeks in a row he's gotten me. What can I do? Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being with us on What's My Line?